I'm recording. Boom, pow, recording. All right. What we're going to talk about today is pretty much Amplify, which is a framework for AWS like infrastructure, and it's just kind of like a nice way to get an intro and kind of ease into AWS, because AWS can be pretty intimidating at times. So we'll be looking at AWS through the lens of Amplify. How we're going to do this is first list out and talk about what AWS services we're going to build and deploy. And then we will actually deploy an app. And then thirdly, we will together explore AWS services in the console. So which AWS services are we going to be using today? The first one is Amplify. So this is like a framework for building, scaling, and maintaining AWS infrastructure. It's a command line interface. It's also a console. I think there's some other ways you can work with it too, but it's pretty much just think of it like, hey, I want to build stuff on AWS, and I don't know how all of these things connect together, and how to like make that programmatic. Amplify helps you with that. It also helps you to scale. So like I need more resources for this particular project, or I need to deploy these resources now to a different region, right? I'm currently only deployed on the West Coast of America, but now I have customers in India, right? So I just need to pick up all of this infrastructure, move it over to India. Amplify will help you kind of do that. The second service we're going to be using is Cognito. This is an identity provider. It'll be storing a lot of sensitive data, username, password, authorization groups, authentication, just pretty much like authentication stuff, right? So JSON web tokens, that's a way to authenticate, and they'll provide the web token and do all that authentication like back-end work for us. Other identity providers you'll probably like hear about in the dev community is like Auth0 is like a huge one. Another service that Cognito does that I didn't put in here is they do social sign-on. So if you want to seen those buttons where it's like sign in with Facebook, sign in with Google, you can set that up with Cognito. S3 is simple storage service. It's actually one of the first ever services that AWS ever provided, so it's still really helpful. What it's going to do for us is store and serve our like front end React code, but really all S3 does is it just stores documents, right? So if you have any type of document, you could just put that in S3. Like if you were to use just another like thing about S3, if you were to use like store a bunch of pictures or store a bunch of stuff, what's nice about S3 is the permissions schema. So like this folder could have a certain permission, another one could have public access, and it's a nice way to be able to access. Also, I think you could set up like public URLs for your S3 documents. So it's another way that you could kind of use it for like content management storage. We're also going to be using AppSync. Pretty much all AppSync is just it's in charge of a GraphQL API. So GraphQL is a new type of query language. We started off for like API endpoints, right? So old API endpoints were SOAP. Then we went to REST, and now we're moving on to GraphQL. GraphQL, the big points about it is that it's a single endpoint, so you'll just do a post request to a single URL, and then you'll define, you'll query the data and dictate how you want the structure of the data to come back. So it's kind of nice that way, and kind of like the next gen way of handling APIs. Dynamo DB, so this is going to be a serverless NoSQL database. So everything in this stack that we're building today is serverless, which means it scales to 0, and it should infinitely be able to scale up. There are restrictions on like concurrency connections at different parts of the stack. For example, I was reading today, I think it was like API gateway can only have 1,000 concurrent connections at a time, where Lambda can have 10,000, or maybe it's the other way around. But you can like work with those, but it's a lot, right? They're pretty scalable, and they scale to 0. So all of what we build today, you should be able to build by yourself, and it's just pay what you use. This is all free tier eligible, so you're not going to spend any money. I think on my last project, I think I actually cost my client 50 cents by throwing like thousands and thousands of requests at it. So it's, sometimes you just got to splurge on your requests, I guess. This is the last service, so it's only 6 services that we're going to be working with. The last one is CloudFormation. This is the way AWS programmatically defines infrastructure. So what Amplify does in the background is it takes your input and compiles everything down into CloudFormation templates. CloudFormation is how pretty much all AWS services communicate with each other. When a service releases a new feature, whether it's on the console or it's on the CLI, I think 10 times out of 10, I don't know, maybe there's special cases, but those features are actually CloudFormation like template features, and they have a very specific set of options, and the CLI or the console is just calling those CloudFormation features. So if getting really down dirty in the weeds of AWS, if you can build CloudFormation templates from scratch, right, you'd be pretty powerful. So that's why we are using Amplify, because CloudFormation templates are pretty rough. 2 other ways that other ways that we would be able to build this stack out. If we wanted to write YAML, you could use a serverless application model. That's SAM, AWS SAM. That's a way to write CloudFormation templates. Another one is called CDK, the Cloud Developer Kit. That is a way to write like JavaScript. You define your templates using JavaScript, and they'll compile down into like the YAML JSON stuff that CloudFormation recognizes. And then there is also, AWS has its own CLI. So you could directly define all of this infrastructure using those tools. Amplify's, it's the newest. It's built for our purposes of web, mobile, like Jamstack development, where you have your front end code, and then front end talks to an API, where you have kind of that delineation. Okay, so that's enough about the services. Let's deploy the app. So pretty much it's just these 5 steps. So I am going to stop presenting this, and we're gonna try this. This has taken some time to do, like to actually do this deployment, because create React app is pretty stinking slow. But let's try and see if we can get something. Okay, so we're in talks. What I'm going to do is I'm going to npx create React app, and then we're gonna call this like live demo. We're gonna let that go. So I already have something deployed, but really I just want to show you like how simple this is. This is gonna go on in the background. Let's see here. And yeah, this is gonna go on in the background, but I already have something deployed for us so that we can use. But just to show you, what we're gonna do is create React app. That's what's running right now. Then we're gonna add the Amplify package. So that has a few methods that we need, and then some nice like UI components. Amplify gives us some nice UI stuff. And then, so that's all front end stuff. And so for the back end, the infrastructure, right, to get a GraphQL API, we're also going to have authentication through Cognito, and then we're going to push it, right? Oh, and then a Dynamo database. So to get that, we're going to run Amplify init, Amplify add API, and then Amplify push. And then I have in this README here, intro to Amplify, I have what happens when you run like Amplify init is it brings up like a prompt. So you're gonna it's gonna ask for the name and the environment and the default editor. So I've put down like just answers to say, and I can show you kind of what that dialog looks like once we get our create React app. There we go. So now we're here. Let's cd into live demo, and let me open up a new code editor. Okay, so here we go. So in this live demo, this is just create React app. So I'll show you what that looks like. It is yarn start. You're just gonna see the spinning React symbol, right? And I'll just say edit your app, and then let's see here. Unless I might actually already have something running on localhost 3000. Let me check. Oh, bash stop. Okay, so it's starting. So it's running or starting up. Yeah, I'm gonna show you what these commands do in a second. Oh, there we go. Once it gets going, it's gonna take a bit. Let's see here, refresh you. Okay. While that's going, what I was gonna say we could do is start exploring AWS. So if you would like, oh, there we go. So here, so this is our React app, right? Just spinning. This is what, nothing special. Let me add the Amplify libraries. So UI components and UI React. And let's get that going. So you can see in the bottom over here, it's going to spin through. If you would like to log in, you can sign in to the AWS console. Click sign in, use this account ID, this username, and this password, and you can kind of follow along and see once we start actually building out this live demo infrastructure, you'll be able to come into the console and see that. So this AWS Intro to Amplify, this app is actually running, is actually live. Just to show you what we're building, I believe I made a, fingers crossed, first account, question mark, maybe? Nope. Okay, so let me create an account. So for you, like what we can do is just do admin, and I'm just going to do a password 12341234 at 1234.com and 123.123.4.123. Okay, and then I'm gonna log in here. Sorry if I'm like jumping back and forth too much, but I see that our live demo, we've downloaded all of our package dependencies. So cool. So our front end with Create React App is ready. What my plan is going to be is I'm going to just click and drag this source folder over to this front end. But first, what I want to do before I do that, I want to actually start building our backend, our Amplify backend, right? So those commands were Amplify init, add API, and push. So let me show that. Is this big enough for y'all?
Yep, I can see pretty good.
Okay. Cool. All right, so we're gonna run Amplify init. Okay, so here, come on, there we go. Enter a project name. We're gonna just call this live demo. Environment will be dev. Visual Studio Code is our editor. We're going to choose JavaScript, React, source, build, npm run build, npm run start, use default provider. I already have an AWS profile set up. This is when you do run the command amplify configure. You just set up AWS profiles. And so now it's initializing. So it's going to actually start building CloudFormation templates. So whenever you see like this create in progress kind of stuff, see you're creating AWS, like this is what CloudFormation looks like. So it's running through, it's completed building an auth role and an unauth role and stuff. Okay, so I created an admin user called like admin1234. So let me go over to Cognito. This is our identity provider. And I am going to give my admin user confirm status. So confirm, so now my admin user can log in. So admin, and then I think it's 1234. And you can come to this site and do this yourself. And how you would get there is if you're logged in, you can go to up at the top, there's this search bar, and you can go to AWS Amplify, and that'll should pull up this dashboard. So it looks like we got our live demo up. Go to AWS Intro Amplify, and then our front end environment, and you'll see there's a link right here. And you click that link, and that'll open our React app. Okay. So I'm going to log in, and just to show you where we're getting to, I'm going to skip. And so now I can add to-dos, present live demo. And then, right, we have like, not let anything break. So now this is persisted to the database, and we're going to go over, I want to show you where everything actually is living in a bit. So first thing, it says, pro tip, try amplified add API. That was exactly what we were going to do. So amplify add API. And it's going to run us through some stuff. So we want a GraphQL API. We'll just call it live demo. We're going to use Cognito user pools. So Cognito, as of right now, before we actually added the API, we have nothing in Amplify, right? If we come here to our live demo, there's nothing in here. The environment exists. So we're adding an API, and when we add Cognito user pools, it's actually going to add authentication for us as well. And how I'm using authentication in this app is really just identity providing. So I'm going to know whose to-do list is whose, because you're authenticating with Cognito. So I know who you are, and I'm just going to associate your to-do list with you. So Cognito user pool, default configuration is fine. We're going to sign in via username. I don't need any advanced settings. I definitely don't need any advanced settings. Do I have an annotated GraphQL schema already? I do not, so I'm going to say no. And then we're going to just use, these are some templates, and we're just going to use the single object with fields template. Okay, I don't need to edit the schema right now. So let me do, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to update AWS with this new API. And this API has Cognito, so it has auth right here. It has an API, like a GraphQL API using AppSync, and then it actually also has a Dynamo DB table backing it for that API, which is, so it's just like a whole bunch of stuff, and it's all connected. It's all very nice. And this is another really cool thing about Amplify is, do you want to generate code for your newly created GraphQL API? And I'm going to say yes. So what it actually does is ends up generating GraphQL queries for us so that we don't have to actually write them ourselves. We can write them, but we can do it as well. So enter the file name pattern. We want to put it in our source/GraphQL directory. Do you want to generate all possible permutations? So like queries, mutations, and subscriptions. And I say, why not? Maximum statement depth. So when you query with GraphQL, you can query, like you could nest your data, right? And you can nest it infinitely. So this is just giving us because it's generating these queries for us, you can just say like max depth 2. You could also change the number, but we just need max depth 2 for now. So, if a user has pencils and that pencils have erasers, and it's like, it'll only just say, students have pencils kind of a thing. So, all right, so now we are starting to update AWS with our new, like our whole new kind of infrastructure. So now if I refresh, we can, or no, I don't even need to refresh. We can see deployment status is now in progress. So we can follow this backend environment and we can see and just follow along as the deployment goes through. Cool. All right. So now we can, let's go through and let's see kind of some different AWS things. Are you all able to log in, by the way, to AWS, that account?
I haven't tried yet. I was just taking some notes, and I have it up, my own Amplify or my own AWS account open right now.
Okay.
But I can test real quick. It's just the stuff with the slide, right?
Yeah. And if not, that's totally fine too. This account that I sent you should be README for everything, so you should be able to read whatever you want to / need to. So here, let's while that's deploying, let's kind of work through these different services that Amplify uses. So the first service, the first way to do this is how the buckets work is first you have an application and then you have a front end, back end environment. You can actually have multiple environments inside of these. So right now we have like just a dev backend environment, but we could also have a prod backend environment as well, which is really nice for like staging. And hopefully we'll get into being able to use like webhooks in this, build time permitting. So what we're seeing here is our deployment activity, and we can watch as it deployed. So let's view in CloudFormation. Now, I know this is going to be scary in the beginning. Because all this is kind of like gobbledygook stacks. What we can see here is I have 2 Amplify environments deployed to this account right now. This Amplify, AWS Intro Amplify, that's that one environment application that I showed you. And then we also have Amplify Live Demo. So if I just searched for Live Demo, we can see all of the stacks just for Live Demo. And we can see that we can kind of more granularly look at our deployment progress. And we can see, okay, this is an update in progress because it's creating these 2 resources. So this top resource looks like Live Demo. This is the API because it says API Live Demo. And then I'm guessing this is also the API. Interesting. I think one of them is going to be like our resources for Cognito. So you can like once you click on the stack, you can go over to resources and you could see what the stack is. So we can see we have a GraphQL API, which is AppSync, right? AppSync's in charge of our GraphQL. So it looks like we're just doing a CloudFormation stack, AppSync, and then some more AppSync stuff. Let's see what that other, this other Live Demo API stack is. So over here, and it looks like no values found. Cool story. Cool. All right. So yeah, but it looks like oh, maybe that was this is like something that does happen where they'll make like stacks that don't have anything. They're just like transitory, like in between stacks. Weird. Custom resources JSON. So I have no custom resources, I guess. Okay, so we are now deployed complete. So let's see if I refresh this. Looks like update complete. And then I can come back here and look at it says deployment completed. So as of right now, localhost 3000 is just serving create React app. So what I want to do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to update this source folder with everything from my demo that already works. It's only, I'm just updating stuff in source. But one thing to note, I am going to take out this AWS-exports file. So what this file in particular has is it defines pretty much everything that Amplify is doing. So our GraphQL endpoint is actually this URL, right? Blah, 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 .appsync / -API, right? / GraphQL. So this file is auto-generated specifically for this project. So in our project that's already running, I already have an AWS exports, and this is pointing to a different GraphQL endpoint. So we're what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag that exports to the root, and then I'm going to delete this source SRC folder. I don't know. I wonder, this could go terribly wrong. I wonder if I can actually delete it. Okay, so failed to compile. Can I drag from one window to another? Fingers crossed. Let's see. I don't know. I actually didn't test this particular part out. Can I just like this? Drag an SRC. That would be nuts. I can't tell if, is it dragging or not? Does anybody know? I'm guessing no. So what I'm going to do is reveal and explore, because I'm on Windows, so, you know, things. I've had Windows issues with weird permission stuff. Okay, so on the right panel, I have the app that works. On the left panel, doesn't work. So then I'm going to just paste the right panel over to the left, and voila, we now have an SRC folder in the left, and here's our SRC folder. And let me delete that old AWS exports and click and drag it down into SRC. So now, fingers crossed, refresh the page, and we have a working to-do app. We don't have a working to-do app. No such file. So my guess what's happening is maybe I need to just refresh the server. And if not, okay.
I have a quick question while you're doing that.
Yeah.
That AWS exports file, I think I may have missed it, but did it generate that for you and you moved it over, or did you have to create that manually and you're just copying it over for
so when we did Amplify init, Amplify add API, that generates the AWS exports folder.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. It also generates a bunch of other stuff that we could actually get into now while yarn start is waiting. Let's get into like this Amplify folder. So all of our backend code is going to end up in this Amplify folder, Amplify and backend. So we said two things, right? We said, even though we did one command, which was add API, we also added auth because we said Cognito user pool. So this auth, this JSON does a bunch of, you know, Cognito stuff that we don't need to worry about. But this schema.graphql, this is actually our database. So app model means a Dynamo DB table. Oh, it looks like it's not happy. I don't know why it's not happy. Can't resolve font awesome. Oh, Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I only copied over the source folder. I did not copy over the package.json, and I did add sorry, I did add some other packages. Oh well. Let's see here. Okay, so live demo, and then I just want this package JSON over here. And hopefully, if this, if this doesn't work, we'll just move on with the stuff that actually does work. But yeah, it's gonna need to actually do yarn, so that'll be an install and then yarn start. But okay, so yeah, so this is how this schema.graphql is how we actually define our database. But that's really honestly the only things that we need in this Amplify folder right now. You can add like Lambda functions via Amplify, and when you do that, you would like actually edit the code for your like Lambda functions in this there will be an Amplify backend Lambda function folder. So, all right, it looks like we are starting the development server. Cool. So we are done. So we have our app. Good. Okay, so localhost 3000, right? So this is deployed locally, of course. This backend doesn't have any users because we just created it. And .com and 123, 1234, 123. There we go. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Cognito and enable this user. So if I refresh, I should have a second user pool. So this one is our live demo, and let me give that admin a confirmation. Okay, and then now we have admin 1234 1234. Wonderful. Okay, so now we are in the to-do app. In the app. What's cool about this, like one thing that's really cool about this is that this is now live. We have our own quote unquote production data. If you were to spin up this project, you would also be able to log in and work off of this same backend. So I just put in, in the app as a let's go look at it in our database. So our database is Dynamo Db. Dynamo Db is a NoSQL database, so we can store pretty much anything that we want. Let's see. It's going to be this dev database, and we items, and we can see that we have in the app by username admin, right? Let's see here. Did anybody log in? Let's see here. Nope. So this is our database. I want to show you how we actually are querying that database. So these are the GraphQL queries and mutations that get built by Amplify. So here's the queries, here are the mutations: create to do, update to do, right? So this is all written by Amplify. I didn't write any of this. What I did was I hooked into that in this model, to-dos model, and I just, from GraphQL mutations, I took out these functions: create, update, and delete to do, and then I also took out the list to-dos from queries, right? And then in our Amplify package, we have this API method and this auth method. So all the way down at the bottom, I call auth and I say, give me the current authenticated user, and that gives me your Cognito user. So I have your username now, right? So what I do is when I create new to-dos, I input in the name field user.username, right? And then I just take the description. And so this is just a GraphQL query. And this is me parsing out the GraphQL response and returning that. So I hope that, this I hope doesn't feel too intimidating, where I'm just saying the query is list to-dos with this filter where the name equals this, okay? So this is in the code, right? But just to know that off the top of your head, that's a little difficult to know what the GraphQL syntax is. So there is the syntax that is actually getting defined in is a service called AppSync. So like I said, AppSync is in charge of all of our GraphQL stuff. So here's our live demo. Pretty much I stay in these two tabs, schema and queries. So schema this is like our schema.graphql, again, an Amplify backend API, schema.graphql. So these 5 lines get built out into this 156 lines worth of stuff, right? So like this looks like our 5 lines, right? That we wrote, ID, name, description. It also will always add a created at and updated at property, which is nice. But yeah, it'll create update to do input, the different queries and mutations, and then like just different inputs, right? So yeah, just tons and tons and tons of different stuff. But this is for, there's some troubleshooting sometimes you'll need to do. This is where I'll go. But the first place I go is queries. So queries we can just run directly off of our database. So like let's list all of the to-dos. So how you would pretty much structure a GraphQL query is just like click the drop down. So list to-dos, and from the items back, I want their name and their description. And that'll give us all of the items back. So let's run that. And oh, surprise, surprise, we are unauthorized to actually run this, right? Because we set up authentication via our Cognito user pools. So let's log in with a user pool. We already have admin. I don't know what client ID is. Yeah, I honestly don't know what client ID is. But 1234, 1234. Okay, so I actually do need a user pool ID. So it's one of these two. Let's see here. 5BUU or 6V4. Give me something that says what the user pool ID is. Oh, here we go. Not helpful. Really not helpful. Okay, well, process of elimination, there's only 2. Let's try the second one. Log in. Boom. Okay, lucky guess. So now let's run our query again. So list to-dos, description, name, and boom, admin in the app, right? Let me do another local to-do, right? And let's see if this works again. So now we have another local to-do, right? This kind of just helps to know like what your queries are, kind of what that looks like. When you do a mutation, so you click the drop down, go to mutation. Let's get rid of that query and say we're going to create a new to-do. Give it hi there from AppSync, and we'll say the name is going to be admin. Okay, and then we created it. It created, so it came back with an ID. So let's refresh our local application. Refresh, and boom, how. Hi there from AppSync, right? So we are talking to a database over in AWS through a GraphQL API to our local computer, right? And we're authenticated using an identity provider. And we're at 4:48, so we're at 48 minutes. So in this last 12 minutes, what I want to do is I want to actually set up a webhook, and I want to see if we can actually get this bad boy live. Like I want to be able to get this live demo as an actual URL. So I'm going to come to my repositories. I'm going to create a new repository, call it live demo. I'm going to make it private. All right, live demo. And I'm going to just copy this and come over here, make this bigger, scroll to the bottom. Okay. Get status, right? We have nothing. So let's do a git add. Yeah, we're just going to git add everything because why not? Git, okay, great. Git commit init commit. Okay. Git remote add origin. I believe it's that, right? It says it. Git remote add origin. Okay. Wonderful. All right, git status. Just see we are on the master branch. Let's git push. I don't know. Git push origin master. Come on, and we are pushing, we are resolving, we are refreshing, and okay, so we have our init commit. So now we have this. Boom, pow, let's go over to Amplify, and right now we don't have any front end set up. So let's host a web app using GitHub, select a repository, authorization was successful, select a repository, live demo, branch master, next. Deploy updates to backend with your front end code every commit. Yep. Select a backend. We want our dev backend. All right, everything looks good. Everything looks great. And I'm gonna next and save and deploy. And we are deploying. Now, one kind of gotcha, and I put it in the README, and hopefully this works. I'm totally prepared at all points of this entire demonstration for something to completely break down and just nothing to work. I wrote in the README that there is this gotcha that we need to set up. Because we're using a SPA, we need to set up a redirect. So we need to have our source address, this really long, dumb regex. So while that's building, let's go to rewrites and redirects. We're back in the Amplify console. Rewrites and redirects. Let's add a rewrite and redirect. And the target address is going to be /index.html. And we're going to save that. All right. That's it. And I believe we should have a webhook that once this builds, every time you git push to master or git push master or update master with anything, it'll trigger another deployment, right? Kind of like how Netlify works, how GitHub Pages works. So, and it'll also update our backend on AWS. So we can go to this URL and eventually, right now it's just saying we're still deploying, but we'll be able to refresh that once we've got our full deployment. Yeah, and that's everything. If this deploys successfully, like that should be everything. Everything should be good to go. Does anybody have any questions? I know I went through it really fast. I guess oh great, it's just loading. Cool. We did explore AWS, logged in with the credentials. In the slides that I've sent out, we have some resources. There's this dev advocate for Amplify. His name is Nader Dabbit. He has an amazing YouTube channel. And I highly recommend, I mean, anything that you want to do with the Amplify. Oh, great. I lost internet. Anything that you want to do, I'm just going to continue the talk and then I'll be right back with them. But anything you want to do with Amplify, he has these getting started docs are amazing. So thank you everybody for your time.